German supermarket giant Aldi has joined Woolworths in refusing to stock Australia Day merchandise this year. As Georgia Simpson reports, the decision is dividing shoppers.
Aldi has become the nation's second major supermarket to dump Australian-themed merchandise from its shelves this year. The German retail giant hasn't given a reason for its decision, while Woolworths has pointed to a gradual decline in demand for the products amid a broader discussion around January 26 and what it means to different parts of the community. On the street, reactions have been mixed.
Oh, that's no good at all. Australia, they're in Australia, they should stock Australian products.
If they're doing it as an active statement, like they're making a political statement to say that they believe that they should change the date, then I'm all for that.
We want to wear like Australian Day stuff when you go to the beach, like especially to celebrate the day. Like it's just tradition.
I think if they've made a commercial decision just not to stock it, they said they don't sell a lot of it. So if I was running a business, I'd do the same thing.
I think it's kind of a shame. I'm a big fan of Australia Day.
I assume there's some culture war to be fought here, but I ain't going to be the one to fight it.
More coalition MPs are joining opposition leader Peter Dutton in calling for shoppers to boycott Woolworths. Other politicians have branded the ban a win for the environment.
If Woolworths don't want to be part of Australia Day, then I can't see why people should go shopping there until you realise that your job is a retailer, not a politician. And by the way, if you want to reduce something, rather than reduce Australia Day, try reducing your prices.
Do we really need more plastic rubbish made in China that is going to last a day and then end up in landfill?
Rival supermarket Coles has announced it will continue stocking Australia Day merchandise, noting the Aussie-themed gear is popular with people attending international sporting events at this time of year.
Joining me live is Independent MP Zali Steggall. Zali, we just saw you there making some comments. What more can you tell us?
I think it's an interesting every year we in the lead up to Australia Day we have sort of this culture war that develops, and I think it's really a shame. We need to find a way to actually come together as Australians and actually find a way where we can celebrate what we are now, but also our past, and recognise the price of that sharing of our land, right? So we have this culture war that develops around Australia Day, and I think the leader of the opposition is doing what he does traditionally. He's just trying to pick an issue to get people divided and outraged, when I think there's a couple of things we can say about this idea. First, we are in a free country. Retailers and large commercial outlets can choose to stock whatever they want. It's quite interesting to see the Liberal Party wanting to dictate to a commercial entity what they should and shouldn't be selling. But again, my concern is actually waste. This stuff is, you see our beaches, it gets littered with rubbish. We have some 67 million tonnes of rubbish in Australia per year, and only about a third gets recycled. So I would encourage everyone to really think about, do we need any of this paraphernalia to really be able to celebrate our values? And so my call is for Woolies and Aldi, put together a special hamper for Australia Day with fresh food and veggies so that Australians can have a healthy barbecue. That's the way to really celebrate Australian values.
You put that call out on your social media platforms, including X, formerly known as Twitter. What has some of the response been?
Well, actually, a lot of people agree. I mean, I think it's a difficult day, right? We can't disagree. It's a day where some people celebrate, some people mourn, and you have to respect that. So at the end of the day, I think, how do we come together? Maybe it's around a meal and shared stories. So a lot of people actually do agree that I think, the supermarket chains can really focus on that. How do you help people with cost of living and coming together in a more wholesome way? But then also plastic, I know this might sound maybe a side issue, but we have a huge plastic and waste and consumerism in our society, and so really, do you need to add to it? So everyone always says they're concerned about the amount of plastics we have in the oceans and plastics we have everywhere. So don't buy plastic crap.
What about other plastic crap in regards to, other events that are coming up, birthdays and the like? Should we be looking at that more and more?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a growing problem. I've actually been on the Joint Standing Committee into the climate change, environment and energy, and we're doing an inquiry into microplastics. And we're finding that we now have microplastics in the food we consume, right? Fish, and in so many areas, and we don't know the health impacts yet that's going to have on us. We're finding plastics in pretty much everywhere in everything. So we do have to stop and think about how much we consume. We've got a bit of a change happening when it comes to single-use plastics. We know cutlery, those kind of things are being banned. But it is important, balloons, no place for balloons really in birthday parties. And I don't want anyone to say I'm cancelling birthday parties, but it is about thinking all these things we consume have to go somewhere. And if they're not recyclable, they're just going into landfills. So I think it's a great opportunity to use a divisive debate around, that Peter Dutton has called for around Australia Day. And let's actually think about it productively to cut down on some waste.
You mentioned the nanoplastics, and certainly there's a lot of research coming out in that. Do we need to put a stop to seeing a lot of the bottled companies that have those drinks rather than glass? They're turning a lot to plastic. Do we need to be, making them accountable? And things like takeaway containers where you pick up your hot food, is that going to potentially, be harmful to us?
Well, look, we're seeing change happen slowly. We are seeing introduction of better standards. I think we need to limit the amount of polymers we're allowing when it comes to plastics. Certain plastics are recyclable, so clear bottles, for example, you can. The question is other items when it comes to maybe sort of packaging standards are really important, and it is something the government is looking at, and I encourage them to accelerate that. But of course, we all as consumers have to make a decision and a choice about what footsteps are we leaving? Look, I love running in the bush and going into national parks. The saying is only leave footsteps behind. So for people, Australia Day is not the day to make a rubbish tip of our country. Let's actually think about having less impact on it, buying products that have longevity, that can be recycled, that are repaired. And so you can celebrate your Australian values. You can celebrate what Australia Day means to you without having to do this. So I think this is a bit confected by the leader of the opposition, and I just wish Australians could actually be a bit more united and think beyond that kind of political manoeuvre that I think Peter Dutton is doing.
We've almost run out of time, but I just wanted to get a quick comment from you, if you don't mind. It's an evolving situation, as you know. One of our top stories, the US and UK, that have conducted a joint military target in the Iran-backed Houthi rebel group in Yemen. We just heard from Defence Minister Richard Marles. He didn't confirm too much, but he did confirm that Australia did provide Australian personnel. What are your thoughts on this, and on the whole, perhaps the impact that this could have potentially on current global tensions?
Yeah, Jodie, look, like you say, it is a developing situation, but a very serious situation. And I have actually reached out to the government and asked for a briefing and more information about just what has happened, but also what aid and what sort of participation Australia has played in this. But we have seen over recent months an increase in attacks on maritime activity, and Australia is an island. We heavily rely on our maritime trading routes, so it's important that they are safe. So it is a difficult balance between ensuring those maritime shipping is safe from those kind of attacks, and a very real concern about the conflict of the Middle East escalating by having further activities. So I am cautious in respect to this, and I'm asking the government for more information on it, because I am concerned that I don't want to see an escalation of conflict at this time.
Independent MP Zali Steggall, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.